today, saying that you've negotiated in bad faith, and we have to consider that you have accused them in the past of negotiating in bad faith. He said that employers have been playing a game of smoke and mirrors and really hiding how much wages are costing them. So he's saying nobody can determine affordability, and he doesn't believe that you can't afford 12,500 rand. Your reaction?
Well, for starters, saying 12,500 is misleading, because they're asking for 12,500 as a basic pay, which actually translates to almost 20,000 rand as the entry-level pay. So we're talking about an increase from currently our lowest paid employees paid 9,700 rand, raise that to 19,000 rand overnight. Very few companies, if any, can afford that.
We've discussed the wage differences, and we know you're still far apart. But what he's saying is that you won't open your books and you won't show how much the wages are costing you. So obviously that would aid negotiations.
I don't know how much more transparent we can get. For starters, we are public companies, so our statements are out there. That's why they can quote our figures and our costs, because they can see them. More than anything, if you look at the Platinum website that is out there, it actually shows that we have lost up to now 15 billion rand in income as companies, and we have lost about 7 billion rand in terms of wages for employees. That is talking almost, we're talking about 45%. So our wage bill is already at 45%. Talk about us increasing it 3 times, it is going to be way over the 15 billion. So that means we close business. So it is not a practical approach that they are looking at.
So you continue to say that you've been totally transparent and this is still unaffordable?
It is totally unaffordable. I mean, still the 4 years that they're talking about an annual increase of 30%. It is still, again, if you take that 4.5 billion, you increase that by 30%, takes you out of business. So it is not a practical way of looking at things. And I think we need to talk about, if they try to talk economics, which is what they've been trying to do today, they should look at the real economics. We are talking about an increase here that is almost 5% above inflation. So if they understand what inflation that means, which I'm sure they do, we are talking about a very reasonable offer that we are putting on the table. Even as we speak now, this what we put forward as a settlement offer, the 12,500 that everybody's saying is a rallying call. We said we'll reach it by 2017. Actually, Lonmin would reach the 12,500 by next year for the lowest paid employee. So
you're moving quicker than the other employers?
Well, we're paying slightly above the other. The
After
basic, yes, our basic wage is much higher. So we have moved, and it's something that is achievable. But they still are stuck at what they've been saying for the past 8 months, actually, of negotiations.
Let's look at what Jacob Zuma had to say. He was very critical of AMCU in relation to employers. He said you have to take a decision at some point, basically, so this matter ends. What sort of decision do you believe is implied here if, as you say, you can't afford the increase? What can you do?
Well, if you look at the strike, it is a legal strike. Why? Because the CCMA issued a certificate to make it legal. That certificate it's counterbalanced by the Labour Relations Act that says there are certain actions we can take. There are actions, there are options like lockouts, there are retrenchments that would happen, and so forth. But we have not got to that stage yet. We don't want to go that route. That is why, as much as AMCU accuses us of bad faith, we are still here and we're saying to them, we want to talk, we want to try and resolve this. We have faith in them as a union because our employees chose them. But at the same time, what they call bad faith is when we go directly to inform our employees of what offer we have on the table. Now, when we do that, we are doing it within the prerogative as employers, because we employ people, then they become members of a union. We don't employ members of a union. So as employees and as employers, we are responsible for informing our employees of the offer on the table. So it's those kind of actions that can be taken.
I want to talk about the SMSs, but first you spoke about retrenchments. Do you believe that legally at a certain point, if the strike goes on for 6 months or a year, you are able to do that at some point?
Well, interestingly, when AMCU has been saying its own angry statements, whatever it said, it has said that it would like to close down the mines. What does closing down the mines mean? It means exactly that. If we close, people can't work and be paid when the mines are closed. And that's what they're driving at, and that's what they're talking about. So it's a reality. We are not operating. We are not making money. And
my question is, what are you legally allowed to do? Because people out there and me, we look at this and think, how long can it drag on for? But as I understand, in law, there's no cut-off point for a strike.
In law, there is no cut-off point. But as I say, the counter side of the law is that it allows a company to consider other options. Legally, if we follow certain procedures, retrenchments are possible. But that's not what we really want.
Okay.
Because, I mean, unemployment, even the union itself admits unemployment is a problem. So we don't want to go that route. That is why we're trying to cut this as quickly as we can.
At what point would you consider that route?
Well,
after how long?
It is about numbers. It is about whether we can still reasonably run a business. And that decision is really, as somebody said, how long is a piece of string? You don't really know exactly when you reach it until you crunch the numbers and you look at it and you say, even if the workers wanted to come to work on a particular day, we won't have the money. I mean, for us to start now and work, for instance, you don't just open mines. People have to go for training. People have to go for medicals. They get paid while doing all these things. So we have to have cash in the pocket when we do that. So it's not just workers coming. Even if they were to accept the offer today and want to come to work tomorrow, it doesn't mean they'll just go underground and start working. We're going to spend about 3 weeks of salaries where we're preparing them to actually go and work. So there are huge costs involved in this.
You are trying to break the strike by going directly to workers, and these SMSs, quite a new phenomenon. AMCU, very upset about it, saying that it could foment violence. You're going directly to workers, saying, come back, we'll give you back pay, things like that. What is your response to that claim?
Again, an act of faith on our side. If you look at the SMSs we are sending to our employees, yes, we have said to our employees, we'd like you to know the offer that we've put on the table, because considering all the dynamics and the timing that has happened, it will be difficult for AMCU to reach every member and every employee of ours. So we want to make sure that everybody gets reached. Secondly, we have said to them, we'd like to know by the 8th of May whether they would like to accept the offer or not. So it's an act of good faith again on our side. We are not saying to them, if you have not accepted on a particular date, something is going to be done to you. We are saying to them, by the 8th, let us know. Do you want the offer or not? If they don't, we go back to AMCU and say, indeed, they don't want your offer. How do we go forward?
What is the response? Because again, from AMCU today, we heard that they have a clear mandate from their members. Joseph Mathunjwa saying tens of thousands of union members attending the meetings. You all along have been saying that workers want to come back. Give me more detail on the response to those SMSs.
The SMSs we've sent, all the groups of SMSs we've sent, we have not tallied all the numbers yet, because we have given people until the 8th to come back to us. But from the numbers that are coming in, over 80% are saying we accept the offer. We wish to accept the offer. Now, we can do the math. He's had about 4 mass meetings to consult. Let's say in each one of them, he says 10,000. Everybody's been talking about 5,000. So we are talking about 20,000 people. He has 70,000 members. So the 20,000 is speaking for the 50,000.
Okay. My final question, because you went into the strike, we heard, with huge reserves and platinum mines still selling platinum on the market, that there was stock. When are those reserves going to come out? When are you going to feel the pain of the strike?
We've felt the pain of the strike from day one. That is, we can't run away from that. The reality is that platinum, unlike other metals, you don't get from underground and put it on the market. That is a process, and that takes a while. So sometimes people refer to stockpiles, but we are actually talking of a pipeline as the metal gets processed. We are feeling the pinch, and that's why we are trying our best to actually talk to our workers, even through their union, that doesn't take us as honest and fair people. We're trying to reach to them and say, look, at a certain point, we are not going to be able to keep holding any longer, and we will all lose, as we are losing, all of us at the moment.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. That was Lonman's spokesperson, Happy Nkhoma.